Hey, buddy, welcome to StreamSemester.com's Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, and it's a tough episode. Uh, I have recorded this a couple of times, deleted it. I have written copious amounts of notes and complete transparency. I've got them down below the screen instead of on my prompter so I can have them big enough to actually see so I make sure that I say the right words. Um, it's a tough episode. It's tough because it's personal. It's tough because I know that there are going to be people who get upset by this. And I know that those people are going to whatever. But I also know that I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not going to give ultra specific things. If you know me, you know my family, you'll know some of the impetus for this. Um, but this is a trend that I'm seeing that needs to be a conversation. And if you came here from the article on Stream Semester about CTAE not being the second option, thank you for reading that article and going to this. And if you're just getting this on any of our podcast stuff or on YouTube, go to streamsemester.com, look for the article about CTAE not being a second option, and read that story. Completely different things, completely different stories, but the same vein. Um, and it honestly upsets me. It upsets me as an educator. It upsets me as a parent of a CTE or CTAE student. It upsets me as someone who really cares um, about you, honestly, about you as the teacher in the classroom who gives up countless hours. And there's a vein of disrespect from those who should be respecting you to a much greater degree than they are. So again, I've written notes and I've drawn a parallel here that I'm going to reference. So please, I try to look at the camera as much as I can, but I will be looking just below the camera as I go through these notes. Um, so I'm going to set the scene. All right. Imagine you signed your kid up, your personal child, this thing that you've brought into this world that you love more than anything, hopefully, and you signed them up for Little League sports. You've paid hundreds of dollars for them to have the right uniform, for their travel expenses, for them to stay in the assigned hotels that the team, the Little League picked out. And you know that your Little Leaguer has an opportunity to be crowned the best in the state. Okay, this one specific time. They may have traveled an hour, they may have traveled 2 hours, they may have traveled 5 hours to compete, to be crowned the best in the state. As a parent, would you go to that? Would you get up, drive an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours to go and see your little leaguer not necessarily compete, but if they had the opportunity to be crowned the best in the state, would you go to that ceremony? I would. I'd wake up early. I'd wake my wife up early. Load the car full of snacks. I would main vein coffee. We're talking the good, freshly ground, way strong. Like you pour the cup and it gets dark outside, strong coffee. And I would drive the hours to go to that event. And as a matter of fact, you're kind of seeing some evidence of that there from a track meet last weekend. If you're watching on YouTube, if not, my nose is pretty scarred up from sun from last weekend. But I would do that. I would 100% do that and have done that. My son was a travel ball kid. My daughter danced ballet. Done it. Loved it. Still love it. One of the biggest opportunities of my life was changing careers so that I could do it more often. But now imagine that Little League organization saying, "That's cool, Mom and Dad, that you would like to come, but you can't." Imagine there only being one option for you to experience the excitement of your child being crowned a state champion, and that one opportunity is via a stream. Your child is a state champion at the thing they love, a thing that they probably have decided it's something they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And you're told you can't. And I'll be honest with you. Yeah, the stream is an option. You get to participate. But as someone whose entire education career, my teaching career was based around live streams, it's not the same. It's never going to be the same. The Super Bowl on TV is not the same as the Super Bowl in whatever stadium they're playing in. I would rather be there with my child if they were crowned a champion. I want to be there. But I wasn't able to. Along with thousands of parents and community leaders who are told each year around this time that during state competition for a lot of the career tech organizations that they can't for a variety of reasons. And I went and did research because I'll be honest with you, it took me a month to produce this. It took me a month to be confident that I wasn't going to step on toes. It took me a month to craft my words in a way that got my emotions across without being emotional. But as a parent of a child who was in a CTSO, who had the opportunity to compete at a state contest and actually was on the podium at said state contest, I was upset. And this was I was upset most before I knew before he got the call. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me for a lot of reasons. And I reached out to several of the organizations, not just in Georgia. I reached out to several states to kind of see what the prevailing thought was. Oh, well, you can stream it. That was what I was told a couple of times. You heard my thoughts on that. The other was, well, it's kind of rowdy. The kids, it's crazy. Parents probably wouldn't want to come because it's crazy. Whatever. The one that was the most egregious to me was that it's a security issue. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it went something to the effect of, well, we can't just have anybody walking into these competitions. We have middle school students there. What happens most of the school year, most nights of the week, on most campuses around the country? Anybody with a $5 to $10 bill can walk into whatever venue that they're hosting a sporting event and see their children, someone else's children, or just because they want to go, they can go watch this sporting event. And the only security would be the SRO. So the security thing doesn't fly with me at all. As a matter of fact, it angers me to a greater degree because I see a fundraising opportunity there. Hey, I'll give you this one for free. If you run a CTSO, charge parents $10 to come to your convention's award ceremony and call it a fundraiser and pay for some kid to go to a national contest. That's free of charge. I'm just a video teacher or video engineer from Middle Georgia. I'm not managing multi-million dollars. Some of these places have $10 to $15 million a year budgets. I'm not managing that, but I could figure that out. The problem is, it's not money. It's about the messaging. If you read my article on Stream Semester about the situation with the CTAE director and the 8th grade presentation, you'll know I'm a little sensitive to this. Despite the fact that a young man or young woman can go through a couple of years of high school focusing on CTE, choosing to do a job that doesn't require college, doesn't require debt. They can choose a job and start immediately making good money. Despite that, it's still looked at as a second class career. Dr. Jimmy Williamson at the University of Georgia, when I was going through my certification program, made me laugh one time. He goes, if your toilet's backing up into your house, you're not going to call a plumber and ask to see if they went to college. You're going to call a plumber and see if you can get out there quicker and get the job done faster. And you're not going to really be concerned with what they charge you. I really think that career tech education is missing the boat on parents. And I know why. I mean, I'm a parent. My kid's in high school. We were taught that college is the only way to be successful, and that anything other than college means that you're a failure. I also think that that's very outdated. I think that that is a big problem, and it's going to continue to devalue what happens in the career tech classrooms until that attitude changes. And the only way that attitude is going to change is by parents. Imagine whether you have 15 students or 500 students, that you had 5 parents who would invest time, invest training, help a student with a skill, because every parent has a skill of some sort. Even if it's bringing a pot of chili because your broadcast news team is spending some time after school working on their techniques. Imagine if you had 5 of those. And I'm not just thinking about the things that they do for you in the classroom. I'm thinking about the conversations that they have outside of the classroom and outside of your program, where they realize and vocalize the impact that you're having on their kids' lives to people who don't already know. Imagine that. Before I taught, I was in marketing. And we used a phrase, and I don't know if it's legit. I don't know what it is. None of us had marketing experience or training professionally. I had 0 marketing experience and was a promotions and marketing director for a cluster of radio stations in a top 10 national market, which goes back to why I'm so passionate about CTAE or CTE. I use the phrase exponential marketing. And that means if I do something well and you as a parent or as a parent sees it, they're going to tell 2 other parents. Oh, little Jimmy's teacher or little Jimmy got to go and do this, and little Jimmy got second place at whatever contest. Well, the other 2 parents are going to go, wait, I want Stevie and Bobby, I don't know why they all end in Y, Stevie and Bobby to experience the same thing. So now you've added 2 people to your program. Well, Stevie and Bobby's come in and they rock it. So now Stevie and Bobby's parents go tell 2 more. Now your net gain is 6 because 1 parent. But what I'm seeing is more and more of a disconnect between CTAE, CTSO, and the things that happen at home. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad for you as the educator. It makes me sad for them as the student. And I don't know, other than you as the educator having those conversations with your administrators and with your whatever organizations to not only invite parents, but embrace parents to be a part of their child's programs. Now, I also understand that the family structure in America is odd and weird, and we're not going to get into that. But I do know that if you do the same thing with legitimate community leaders, not people who can just write you a check or get your student a job, but people who will invest in your program, the same thing will happen. It will continue to grow, and career tech will not continue to be the backup plan for these students. Honestly, I will fight this as long as I can, that career tech has more value than any other high school programs for a lot of reasons. And if you read my article, you'll understand that I really think that academia provides the foundation, it provides the understanding, it provides a skill set and a vocabulary that career tech education makes real. Period. And until career tech education gets parents involved and excited and encouraged, and career tech directors and administrators quit seeing it as a second option, we'll never get to the place we need to be. We won't. Again, I I hate that this was this tone, but it's got to be done. It's got to be said. You have to reach out to parents. Are you going to get all of your parents? Never. You're never going to get all of your parents. You'll be lucky to get 5% of your parents. Extremely lucky to get 5% of your parents. Um, but 5%, 1%, that's one more voice to tell other people how great you are, how great your students are, and how impactful you've been on those students' lives. You have an opportunity to impact and make waves across your community like you have no idea. But you got to have that parent support. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I didn't step on any toes. Again, it took a long time for me to write this and not be too emotional. Um, Go out and make some awesome. I really appreciate everything you do. Thank you for listening.